school for many kids across Canada, and Ontario's so-called top doctor, that's the conflict of interest riddled medical officer of health, Dr. Kieran Moore, has issued his annual report, pushing for a shiny new national immunization schedule and registry, all in the name of battling those pesky vaccine-preventable diseases amid what they're calling a rise in vaccine hesitancy. Because, nothing quite says public health like ramping up surveillance and dragging their kids' private medical info into some centralized databases. After all, it's part of the World Health Organization's Immunization Agenda 2030. They call immunization the foundation of the primary healthcare system and an indisputable human right, saying it's also one of the best health investments money can buy. I would say that ending global hunger and giving people access to clean drinking water would arguably be a better investment, but that wouldn't send trillions in profits to the coffers of big pharma. So I guess, what do I know, right? Now, this agenda has 4 phases: pre-vaccine, vaccine introduction, program introduction, and long-term monitoring. You see, the intent is to implement targeted delivery strategies and monitor progress and modify the program to achieve control, elimination, and eradication goals. It's being spearheaded by none other than Bill Gates and his subsidiary organizations through the IA, that's Immunization Agenda 2030 core team, which this WHO implementation strategy document says includes themselves, UNICEF, the Wellcome Trust, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, the Gavi Secretariat, and Gavi stands for the Global Vaccine Alliance, again spearheaded by Bill and Melinda Gates, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Gavi Civil Society Organization constituency, if you believe such a thing actually exists. Now, the Public Health Agency of Canada acknowledges in its 2025-2030 interim national vaccine strategy that the immunization landscape in Canada and globally has evolved significantly in recent years due to multiple factors, with the COVID-19 pandemic starting in 2020 as the key catalyst. Well, it says that the immunization landscape continues to expand beyond the traditional focus on childhood vaccinations, and technological innovations such as mRNA vaccines, artificial intelligence, and machine learning have redefined possibilities. The introduction of new combination respiratory vaccines will further complicate the vaccine landscape, but will equally reinforce the importance of life course immunization planning for adults. It fits perfectly with the graph in Moore's annual report. So by leveraging new technologies and new vaccine combinations, pharmaceutical companies and our government will aim to promote a lifelong vaccination schedule, integrating regular immunizations into routine healthcare to ensure that continuous uptake and drive continued demand for these products. All, of course, while surveilling your personal, private, and used to be confidential medical data to ensure you comply. None of this would be possible without one key objective of the strategy being to address and mitigate the effects of mis- and disinformation and vaccine hesitancy. Funny how they blame hesitancy instead of questioning why trust in these jabs and public health in general has been deeply eroded after years of coercive mandates and suppressed stories of harm. And of course, if you don't comply with these surveillance initiatives or take the endless shots and a revolving door of existing or novel technologies, we already have a preview of what happens. You see, here in Ontario, public health will coerce schools, namely principals and secretaries, to use children as pawns to gain compliance with these data solicitation efforts. In what can only be described as a massive data grab that puts every child's personal health details under constant watch, the Immunization of School Pupils Act, which I will refer to as ISPA, requires a partnership between schools and public health to solicit, collect, and store students' vaccination records. By turning to schools to enforce vaccination record compliance, this puts principals and school staff in the position of being usually reluctant enforcers of these data surveillance initiatives. And then local health units bully families into disclosing sensitive medical data by threatening suspensions for non-compliant students. a practice that many view as a coercive data grab that violates the Personal Health and Information Protection Act. That's called PIPA. It's supposed to safeguard medical privacy and require informed consent free from coercion, yet public health's tactics seem to flout these protections with callous disregard for neither the privacy nor educational rights, social or mental health of the children that they target. With recent data breaches like the PowerSchool incident affecting 2.8 million records, prompting Canada's Privacy Commissioner to investigate, and others at Life Labs and Ontario's COVID-19 vaccine system, parents are increasingly aware of how their children's health data is collected, stored, and potentially shared with pharmaceutical companies or, tech giants like Kaiser Permanente. Their children face ostracization, have been denied recess, have had their busing withheld, and in other more aggressive instances, have had the Children's Aid Society sicked on them. I know because I'm part of a group of parents who share these disturbing occurrences. The 20-day suspension is the harshest one available, typically reserved for aggressive and violent behavior like sexual assault or drug trafficking at school. And yet these well-mannered, perfect behavior students are treated like the worst violent offenders their school has ever seen. Regardless, the centralization of children's private health data, combined with school-based vaccination clinics that can and often do take place during instructional hours, suggests a clear overreach by public health into the education sector, a completely different ministry. These actions raise alarms about informed consent, particularly when parents are presented with limited choices and are threatened with aggressive suspension orders if they don't comply. As this concern grows, families are resisting, demanding their children's education not be held hostage to invasive data collection initiatives and asserting their right to protect their child's autonomy, educational rights, and medical privacy. It may all sound innocuous, but if COVID was any indication, it's a gateway to tracking every jab, every refusal, and every family's decision, with public health ready to swoop in on the non-compliant. And what's the cost of it all? Well, the erosion of parental rights and medical privacy, all feeding into the WHO's international